In this video, we will learn about preparation of soluble salts. Some general methods of preparation of soluble salts are as follows. The first one is by direct combination. By heating the component elements together, we get many soluble salts. The first one is sodium on directly reacting with chlorine on heating produces sodium chloride, which is a soluble salt. Similarly, iron on reacting with chlorine along with the heating produces iron chloride, which is again soluble salt. Then the second is by simple displacement. When active metals react with dilute acids, they displace hydrogen from acids and form soluble salts. For example, zinc on reacting with dilute sulfuric acid produces zinc sulfate, which is a soluble salt, along with the evolution of hydrogen gas. Then magnesium on reacting with dilute hydrochloric acid produces magnesium chloride, which is again a soluble, and the evolution of hydrogen gas. Then by decomposition of bicarbonates, carbonates, sulfides, etc. by dilute acid. When bicarbonates, carbonates, sulfides, etc. they react with dilute acids, they decompose into soluble salts, water, and oxides of elements. Now this sodium bicarbonate on reacting with dilute sulfuric acid produces sodium sulfate, which is a soluble salt, and the water molecules as well as carbon dioxide. Then sodium carbonate on reacting with dilute hydrochloric acid produces sodium chloride, water, and carbon dioxide. Then sodium sulfite on reacting with hydrochloric acid produces sodium chloride. Then by decomposition of chlorides, bromides, and nitrates by concentrated sulfuric acid. When chlorides, bromides, and nitrates they react with concentrated sulfuric acid, they decompose into soluble salts and chlorides, bromides, and nitrates of hydrogen. For example, sodium chloride on reacting with concentrated sulfuric acid at a temperature below 200 degrees Celsius produces an acidic salt which is NaHSO4, but the point is it is aqueous in nature or soluble in nature, and the as well as the HCl will be produced as a byproduct. Then sodium chloride on reacting with concentrated sulfuric acid, but this time the temperature is higher than 200 degrees Celsius, so we'll get a normal salt which is sodium sulfate, which is again soluble. Then NaBr on reacting with concentrated H2SO4 on heating produces normal salt. Then NaNO3 on reacting with H2SO4 concentrated at a temperature lower than 200 degrees Celsius produces NaHSO4, which is acidic salt, but it is soluble in water. Then by neutralization, which is also said to be titration. When an acid is titrated or reacted with a base, or vice versa, soluble salt and water are formed. For example, NaOH on reacting with HCl produces NaCl, which is a soluble salt. Then NaOH on reacting with HNO3 produces NaNO3, which is again soluble, water soluble. Then by the action of alkalis on some metals. So when some metals like zinc, aluminium, tin, etc., they are said to be amphoteric in nature as well, because they can react with acids as well as with the bases. So when they react with alkalis, they produce soluble salts and hydrogen are obtained. Example, we have zinc on reacting with NaOH produces sodium zincate, which is a soluble salt, and the hydrogen gas will be evolved. Then aluminium on reacting with sodium hydroxide produces sodium aluminate and the hydrogen gas. Then by the reaction of an acidic oxide with a basic oxide. Some acidic oxides react with some basic oxide to form soluble salts. For example, acidic oxide, which is sulfur dioxide, on reacting with basic oxide, which is Na2O, produces Na2SO3, which is soluble in nature. So soluble salts are obtained from their aqueous solutions by evaporation of water followed by crystallization. However, certain salts like zincates and aluminates exist only in solution. Then the preparation of insoluble salts. The first one is by simply direct combination of the constituent element. Example, we have on heating iron fillings with the sulfur, we will get iron sulfide, which is an insoluble salt, and it exists in the solid form. Then by the combination of acidic oxide with the basic oxide, we can also get insoluble salt. Here sulfur dioxide, which is acidic in nature, reacting with calcium oxide, which is basic in nature, and we will get calcium sulfide, which is insoluble salt. Same thing happens with reaction of carbon dioxide with calcium oxide, we will get calcium carbonate, which is an insoluble salt. Then by the precipitation reaction. So insoluble salts are generally prepared by precipitation method using double decomposition reaction. In this method, The aqueous solution of two soluble salts are mixed to form the precipitate of the insoluble salt. One solution contains the cation for the insoluble salt and the other solution contains the anion for the desired insoluble salt. Example we have AgNO3, NaCl. Both are soluble salts. They are forming an insoluble salt which is NaCl. And one soluble salt is being formed which is sodium nitrate. Similarly, barium chloride on reacting with sodium sulfate produces barium sulfate which is insoluble. Lead nitrate on reacting with sodium sulfate produces lead sulfate which is insoluble. Then lead nitrate on reacting with sodium chloride produces lead chloride which is insoluble. Then calcium chloride on reacting with sodium carbonate produces calcium carbonate which is insoluble in nature. So these reactions are also called as double decomposition reactions because ions from two different substances exchange their positions to form the products. Now the preparation of insoluble salt from another insoluble salt by double decomposition. So the insoluble salt is first converted into a soluble salt which is then used for preparing the desired insoluble salt. For example, preparation of insoluble lead chloride from insoluble PbO. Lead oxide is first treated with dilute nitric acid to convert it into soluble lead nitrate. So lead nitrate on reacting with HNO3 which is dilute produce lead nitrate along with the water. The resulting solution is then treated with sodium chloride solution when lead chloride precipitates as white precipitate. So lead nitrate which is aqueous and sodium chloride which is aqueous produces lead chloride which is insoluble salt and sodium nitrate which is soluble salt is being formed. Then second we have preparation of lead sulfate from lead carbonate. First step we have lead carbonate reacts with nitric acid produces lead nitrate along with the water and carbon dioxide. In the second step we will see the reaction of lead nitrate with the dilute sulfuric acid and we will get lead sulfate and insoluble salt and we will get back nitric acid. So the direct treatment of lead carbonate with sulfuric acid to get lead sulfate is not a satisfactory method because lead sulfate form initially forms a coating over lead carbonate and the further reaction will stop. I hope it is clear to you. Thank you.